Hello everybody. I'm at a driving school and I thought I would give you some information about driving internationally in Japan. So let me get out of here. I just wanted to show you a little bit of clip of the inside of the school. They actually have pepper in here. So before you get an international driver's license and you come to Japan, there's a couple of things I want you to know about. If you're living in Japan, you can't get you can't use an international driver's license after you've been here for 1 year. An international driver's license is a piece of paper that you can get that accompanies your country's license that allows you to drive anywhere else in the world. If you're a resident of Japan like me, after a year, it's over. You have to get a Japanese driver's license, but we're in luck. We have something called Gaimen Kirikae. Gaimen Kirikae is a license transfer. Now, I've introduced this word. The next step is to try to understand what this all means. Gaimen Kirikae is good if you're in part of the select countries that allows you just to take the written test. That's mostly Europe, New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, okay? If you're American and you don't live in Washington State or Maryland, you're gonna have to take the practical test. And that means driving at one of the 2 centers in Tokyo or in your prefecture, wherever the driving licensing agency is that has a course. So I'm gonna walk across the street and show you. I'm in a place in Tokyo called Musashi-Sakai. Here's the driving school behind me. You can see there's the course. I just took 4 hours of driving practice because I don't want to pass this test. Okay, now let's go back to Gaimen Kirikae. So you've got a driver's license, you want to get a Japanese driver's license, and you want to change it over as quickly and as easily as possible. You need to bring your passport and you need to bring your driver's license, and you have to have proof. This is the part that almost got me. You have to have proof that you have been in that country driving for 3 months. And they check your passport. They really check your passport to see if you've been in your country that long. Now, I was lucky. I have maybe 5 of my licenses renewed over the last 12 or 13 years. And over that time, I had my old passports, and I could prove just barely I've been in my country for 3 months. Because I live here. I'm not really much in the United States. And after I could prove that, and they checked off okay, and this took several hours to do. At the licensing center in Shinagawa, they asked me to take the written test. I took the written test. Japanese have to take a written test that includes 100 questions. It's hard. Foreigners who are doing Gaimen Kirikae only have to take an exam with 10 questions. That is a huge difference because, yeah, this process is a pain in the neck, but if we compare to what the Japanese have to do, oh my gosh, there's no comparison at all. Gaimen Kirikae is so much easier. The written test was like all basically questions that were like no-brainers, but it helps to study a little bit in advance to know some of the rules that are different. They always have 1 or 2 questions that are like tongue twisters to try to trick you. And I kind of picked those out. Like there was a double negative, like not, no, and not. And I'm like, that cancels each other out. So it must be yes. And I got that one right. So the written test, you can study. There's a couple of websites online that give you some sample questions of the exam in English, which is really good. You don't have to take it in Japanese. Okay. So you've passed the written test. If you're Canadian, New Zealand, Australian, or European, most European countries, you can get your license. But I can't. I have to take the driving practical test, something that I took when I was in high school. Because in America, we learn how to drive in high school. We learn from teachers, physical education teachers. In my case, taught me how to speak English. Taught me how to drive. So that was great. But in Japan, you have to go to a school. And this is one of the schools. This is a driving center in Musashi-Sakai. And this is where I took 4 hours of school. Now the school the school for this is a 2-part series, by the way. I'm going to take the test tomorrow, and if I pass it, then I'm going to have another a live stream to explain about the test, the real test. But for studying, which is what you should do, cost me $150 for an entrance fee to the school, okay? And it's still in sight. That was pretty expensive, but it's like shogunai, it can't be helped. You have to pay the fee. So I got the entrance fee, and then it's 5,000 yen per hour to study at this school, the Musashi-Sakai Driving School. I thought that was reasonable, and after 4 hours and the entrance fee, it cost me about $350 for 4 hours of practice, and I needed it because here's the thing, okay? And this is why a lot of foreign people who are changing their licenses over fail several times the practical test. It's not about how well you drive, all right? You're hearing me? You could be the safest driver in the world. Has nothing to do with how well you drive, how smooth you take left turns and everything. It's all about one thing. How well do you know the course? How well do you know the course? The course is the most impractical. It's just not a normal driving situation. Everything is tight, compact. Everything is very, they put all of these obstacles, all of these challenges in a very small area. It's not natural. It's not meant to be natural. This is the way that, if you can understand this, then you're going to understand how Japan thinks. The test is set up for you to memorize how to do certain steps, how to do it safely. It has nothing to do with practical driving skills. This is quite important. It's like the TOEIC test. Do you know the TOEIC test? It's like a way to gauge your English level. The TOEIC test has nothing to do with speaking, okay? It has nothing to do with speaking. It's about memorizing grammar. It's about memorizing how to vocabulary and grammar. A lot of people do really, really well in the TOEIC test in Japan and cannot speak English, okay? Same with this. A lot of people have mastered the exam, the course, and they can't drive at all. They mastered the course, they passed the practical test, and they have no idea how to drive when they get out here. This is the real world. This is the real world. I've been driving in the real world from the time I was like 17 until I was about 25, okay? I was driving out in the real world, and I came here, Japan, and I lost my skills, and I had to take the classes to get it back. But in Japan, it has nothing to do with actual driving and everything to do with knowing the course, okay? Are you getting this? All right, now that you know that, you know what to expect, because if you go into this test and you think that you're gonna ace it because you've been driving all your life and you know how to drive, you're gonna fail miserably. Everybody on the internet has written the same thing. Almost nobody passes on the first time. And I think the reason why is because they don't study and they don't expect that it's as strict as it is. So, now that I've got through that part, now I can tell you what I learned at this school and why I needed it. I'm gonna be driving in next week. If I pass the exam, I can drive in Fukushima from through the prefecture, which is what I want to bring an episode of Only in Japan for. So I need the driver's license to do my job. If I fail the test, I have a backup plan. Someone else is gonna drive. I want to drive though, so I can't fail this test. That's why I went to that school in Musashi-Sakai to get some practice. I drive only a manual. I cannot drive automatic cars, but I might have to, depending on what car we find. I like only manual. I like shifting, right? I love to shift. I love to feel the engine and I feel the car. So I'm getting a manual license. In Japan, there's an automatic license and a manual license. You have to sign up for one or the other. If you get a manual, you can do both. If you get an automatic, you can only do automatic. I want the manual one, and that's harder. So that means I have to practice shifting with my left hand, first of all. This is the difference between Americans and European drivers who are used to driving on the left side. You can see steering wheel. I'm looking right now on the road here. You can see everyone's driving on the left side, right? And the steering wheel is on this side. So that's completely opposite to the way I think in Japan. But the good thing is that I've been walking on the left side all my life, so my brain is sort of already on this side of the road. What I noticed when I was taking the practice was that every time I signaled, I mean, this is the first hour that I was taking the practice, not every time, but often when I signaled, I would push this one. The signal in American cars is on the left side, right? That's the windshield wipers in Japan. So I kept on signaling and activating the windshield wipers on the car. And the instructor would just turn to me and go like this, like I knew. After the second hour, I was getting a lot better, and I only did it once or twice. The third hour, I was good. I took 4 hours. And the fourth hour, I was pretty darn smooth. I think I'll pass the test tomorrow because I wanted to take the 4 hours of training because I wanted to train the muscles, the muscle action to do it automatically. And you can't do that unless you've been doing it the right way. And the instructors here, they really helped me. I think when I made mistakes, they were able to tell me what they were. And the third instructor, she was really good. And that's the other thing about these schools. I'll tell you about that in a second. She drew me maps on what I can do better in the test. About right of way, which is different in Japan. About these diamonds in the middle of the street, which you can't cross or you fail. What to do at stop signs that are blinking. And this is the pattern for powering down a manual car and powering up a manual car. Starting the engine and stuff. There's an actual pattern to it. It's not okay, there's a way that you might do it, and then there's the way that you have to do it for the exam, and you have to memorize that. That's the key. Knowing when to signal. Even though you might signal at the perfect time, you probably should signal right away. There's sort of a pattern to everything. Stop at the stop sign, count to 3. Make sure you have counted 3 seconds before you go. If it's not 3 seconds, then you failed. If you hit a curb, you failed. There's so many different things. It's so much harder than the driving test in the United States. I cannot tell you how hard this is. The only good thing is there's no parallel parking. But anyways, we've got through that part of the Gaimen Kirikae and the practical test. I think I'm ready. I got to drive with 4 different instructors there. It's basically just practice. Each instructor, hold on a second. I'm sorry, I saw some super chats come in, so I really appreciate that, guys. I'll go back in and write in the descriptions and answer your super chats. I do appreciate that, really. The 4 instructors all had 4 different personalities. When you take the exam, you're going to have instructors with good personalities and instructors with bad personalities. Some of them will have good days and some of them will have bad days, and you are at their mercy. So I like the practice because I got to meet with 4 different people and practice with 4 different styles. They all had different ways to tell me to turn left and right. Yeah, you kind of need Japanese, or at least be able to understand left, right, straight, light, stop, go, basic things like this. But I think if you study for a couple of hours, you should be fine. Yeah, tomorrow is the big test, so hopefully I pass. And this practice was the key. I'll tell you though, and this is straight up, if I did not take the practice today, I would not have had any chance to pass that test tomorrow. 0. Because there's so many little teeny things on that course, and it's knowing the course that there's no way I would have been able to grasp that without the practice. And it wasn't until my 4th hour that I felt really comfortable doing safety checks. You have to do it the way that they do it, and look over your shoulder, this. It's really, really not natural, but it's safer, maybe. The way you hold the wheel, the way you do the brake and the clutch, the way you master these S-curves, the way that you go through something called the crank, which is a really sharp left 90-degree angle turns. It's pretty challenging. It's sort of fun, but it's also really stressful because one mistake and if you have some questions about this, I'm happy to take it right now. I just wanted to go over, for a lot of people who've been asking about driving in Japan, some of the challenges that you would face here. It's not just about driving on the left or right side of the road. It's also about mastering the course. Master the course, get your license. Nothing to do with safe driving. Is it expensive? The license itself costs altogether about 5,500 yen, I think. There's an eye test as well, so I passed the eye test. It's basically you look through this big machine and you see C's and you have to tell which way the C is pointing. Hidari, migi, ue, shita, left, up, down, left, right. And yeah, that was pretty easy, the eye exam. That was a fun exam to take because I knew I would pass that one. The written test, though, that was a little bit more nerve-wracking. I was the only one that took the written test that day at the time I came in. If you go in Shinagawa, though, it's pretty busy. Best thing to do is to go early in the morning. 5,500 yen, yeah. If you go to driving school, you can take the test there, all of it there, but that costs $3,000 to $4,000, okay? So you can see why I want to just go directly into the driver's license center and get my driver's license, because it costs about 5,500 yen, apparently, according to the internet. So I'm just taking a bunch of cash with me. That shouldn't cost more than that. They take your picture right away, and boom. I'll let you know tomorrow how this test goes, and if I pass it, and what I had to go through on this course. If you go early to Shinagawa, you can also walk the course, which I definitely am going to do, so I know what I'm driving on before I start the exam. So Lyle, you mean you're choosing a car instead of investing in a tricycle? Yes. Thanks for. Is the written test in Japanese only? No. Jeanette Oka, the written test is in English. I think you can get it in several languages. You can get it in Korean, Chinese, and German, I think. So it's in your language. I don't think the language that you speak does not matter too much about driving. But what does matter is that you know a little bit of Japanese, because it will come in useful if you're driving a car. Even if you're doing it internationally, you should probably learn a little bit. Why so hard for people to get a license? Sarah the Dreamer. It's actually... All right, Japan is one of the most crowded countries in the world. We can agree on that, right? Tokyo is insane, all right? So, of course they're going to make it pretty hard to get a license. It's not your privilege to drive. You have to earn it here. I think in America, we see it more as our privilege, our right to be a driver. So it's quite easy to get a driver's license. In Japan, you have to earn that right, and it is quite hard for Japanese or beginners. But this Gaimen Kirikae I'm telling you about, although it's a pain in the neck, it is much, much, much easier than the way that the Japanese get their driver's license. Like 100,000 times easier, because you have to go through school. You have to take a certain amount of hours of practice and 100-question exam, which is insanely hard in Japanese. And then you take the practical exam, and then maybe you pass. All right. The problem with me failing, this is where it gets bad, okay? If I lived not in Tokyo and out in the countryside, I could take this test again like 2 days later. In Tokyo, it's so crowded, the next chance for me to take the exam is probably 2 to 3 weeks later, if I'm lucky, sometimes a month. After I passed the written test, I had to schedule the practical test. It took me 5 weeks, so it wasn't something I could do. I thought I would be able to do it next week and the next week, and no, it was. I passed the written test and the Gaimen Kirikae. I've been in my country driving for over 3 months. After I passed that test, I thought I would be able to take the practical test, and I couldn't. So don't think you're going to get your license right away either, you know? And if I fail, I'm in big trouble. I can't fail tomorrow. Adrian, should still make driving exams more difficult in the States. Adrian, Keith, you're onto something here. One of the reasons why the USA is not exempt, all right? This is a lot of people have been asking me this as well. Why do Americans have to take the practical test? America is strange and worldwide in the sense that there's no federal driving agency. It's all done by the states. Each state has their own rules, their own driving record, okay? In Germany, it's just Germany that gives the license. In Australia, Canada, it's the Canadian government. It's not each state like Alberta, Quebec. In the United States, they do it by state. So 2 states have very good driving records that Japan deems to be safe. Maryland State and Washington State. If you're in the other 48, you are out of luck. You have to take the practical test. That's Japan. And you know what? I don't mind it so much. If this practice makes me a better driver, then I'm quite happy to have had the extra practice to drive. I tell you what though, I have learned the rules like dead. The signs, the lines, the left turns, the priorities. This has been a pretty good experience for me, and I feel safer driving in a car now, although I don't have the license yet. Why don't the other states matter? Legok 001, because they don't have good driving records yet. And because each state, let's consider them to be a country, their procedures for getting a driver's license is too easy, and the driving record is not good enough. If it's too easy to get a license and they just give it out like water, you know? I mean, anyone can get a driver's license in the United States. You don't even have to be an American citizen. You can get a driver's license in the United States. This is a problem for places like Japan who wants it to be 100% certified you're a good driver. Meaning you took these classes and you are... and that's not saying the Japanese drivers are better. Just the exam process to pass is harder. And to them, that makes it seem safer. You could be the best driver in the world, but if you didn't go to the right schools and... take the exam the way that was in a hard way, I guess it doesn't really matter. I am a good driver. I've never gotten a speeding ticket or gotten into an accident, but I've been living here for 15 years, so that sort of doesn't matter. Anybody notice drivers haven't honked on the road John is standing on? They don't honk much. In fact, I told the instructor at the end there was a traffic jam, and I taught her the word jutai is the word in Japanese, jutai. And in English, we say traffic jam. And I taught her the word traffic jam. She goes, oh, traffic jam. Hi. That was really funny. But I said, if this is New York and we were in a traffic jam, I'd be honking the horn. And she said, yeah, Japanese don't honk horn. I said, okay. Yeah, we sort of just wait. You just wait. So there's no honking. And I'm standing right on the side of the road here. You gonna drift? No. No, I'm a safe driver. Which care will you be driving, and any dream car? I'll have a manual, so I'd like a sports car. Would be nice. That's the ideal. But I'll take any car. For this upcoming shoot in Fukushima, I'll take any car. Automatic is fine. I just want a car. Does Japan have rush hours? Heck yeah. A lot of people outside don't see the traffic jams. You know why? Because they take the train. Most of 99.9% of the foreigners, or maybe it's even higher, take trains. They don't drive. All right, so you don't get to see the massive congestion in the city that it's worse than New York, like times 10. It's so small, so congested, and Tokyo's highway system hasn't been really revamped since 1968. It's not made for the population that they have like 50 years later. It's pretty crazy. But with that said, yeah, I guess working harder to get your exam is a good thing, because I will feel safer when I'm on the road. Just go to Shibuya intersection and look at the roads. You'll see traffic jams. You will, but you'll see them at certain times. Shibuya, a lot of people don't drive through the center. It's around the city, and that's really quite congested. You don't see it so much in central Tokyo. People, unless they're making deliveries or living there, they don't really are in the center. Nobody crosses through the center to get through. They're all on this ring route, or the outer roads around here, which are awful. Ikebukuro and the areas around Setagaya are the worst, because they're all houses where people live, and there's a lot of exit ramps and left turns and right turns and lots of traffic lights. It is bad. Red Ferrari sounds really good. I'm liking this. Visit Toyota City next time. I used to live next to Toyota City in Okazaki City in Aichiken. It is kind of a pretty cool city. One thing about Toyota City that I can tell you right now is nobody pays local taxes, because the company of Tokyo, Toyota, pays all the taxes for local residents, which is crazy. It makes it a pretty good place to live, right? Toyota City. If you have a driver's license that I'm getting, I can ride motorcycles that are 50cc engines. Anything bigger, I need a specialized motorcycle license. These are pretty good questions. Why did you wait to get your license when you've lived here for 15 years? I didn't need, when you live in Tokyo, what do you need a license for? You tell me. If you have a car, you have to not only find a parking spot for it, which costs maybe a third of your rent or more. It's not worth having a car here. The reason why I got it is because only in Japan show, I think it's time to take you on a different side of Japan and show you something via car, which means more countryside. And I was in Tottori Prefecture for 2 weeks before. I could have used that license. In fact, my goal was to get the license before I went to Tottori Prefecture, but I couldn't because I couldn't schedule the exam until tomorrow, which is the magic day. Do you have Japanese citizenship? No, I do not. I am still American. I have no desire to become a Japanese citizen, but I'm very happy to be a resident of Japan for many, many years. Do you have to renew your license? In the US, I do. When I go back home every 4 years, that year I'll renew my license. It doesn't cost, it costs just $10, $15. Yes, only Japan road trip. That's right. Do you have a license to drive a go-kart? You do. You need your foreign license and an international driver's license, I believe. Or if you're a resident of Japan, you probably need a Japanese driver's license. You're driving on the roads with everybody else. There's those, I'm talking about the Mario Karts, right? You need a license to drive those for sure. At what age can Japanese get a driver's license? According to Miyu, in the Ask Miyu question that I did a couple of weeks ago, you have to be out of high school. Out of high school is sort of the criteria, the prerequisite for this. You don't learn anything in high school on how to drive. That's something you do on your own time, which is why they have specialized driving schools in an industry that costs thousands and thousands of dollars to get a driver's license. Japanese pay about, on average, $3,000 to $4,000 to get their driver's license. I'm paying $350 for lessons and $55 for the license itself, so about $400. But I'll be a good driver, I promise. Are tourists allowed to drive? They are if they have an international driver's license. You can get that for like $10. If you're American, at the AAA, the Automobile Association of America gives them out for $10. You need a photo and your license, and then you can register, and you don't have to take any exams. It's too easy, right? You can use that in Japan up to 1 year, and then you have to get a Japanese driver's license, thus needing a driver's license. That's correct. It's a good question. Are you going to buy a car? I don't know. I don't think so, but I will rent them. Do you prefer to take public transport or driving around? I haven't driven around ever in Japan. This will be my first time, so I'll have to say public transportation. However, I'm open to driving around if you are open to giving me your car. Why do Japanese people don't drive trucks like in the US? They're too big. They're too big, like the big Mack trucks. They're too big. The roads are too small, and they don't have as much to transfer. A lot of it can be transferred by train as well, whereas the U.S. does not have a very big train network. They need bigger trucks, thus bigger highways and bigger trailers. Japan doesn't need trailers that big, although they do have semi-big trucks out there on the highway. These are good questions. Is it harder to get a license if you are a foreigner? No, it's much, much easier if you already have a license. If your license is expired, or you haven't driven 3 months in your country before getting your license abroad, you cannot get the Gaimen Kirikae, the exchange, which is what I'm doing. You have to go through the process, which is long and hard. If you're doing Gaimen Kirikae, which is license transfer, it's very easy. The reason why they ask you for 3 months is that a lot of Japanese people are smart, yeah? They'll go to the United States, which is so easy to get a driver's license, come back here, and then they'll do a Gaimen Kirikae and transfer it to a Japanese license without having to pay a driving school. That's smart, right? So the Japanese government has decided that to make 3 months a requirement for you to have driven in that country where you got the license, and to prove it with your passport. And they really, really do check and prove it. I was shocked that they took an hour and a half to confirm all the passport stamps in my passport, and I had a lot of them. They confirmed everyone, wrote it down, and they came back to me and then said it was okay. I just had 100 days. I needed 90. 10 days over after 15 years, you know? It's crazy, right? I just passed. I've never seen a Japanese freight train. Japan Uber is a possibility. Uber sometimes is more expensive than the normal taxis, to be honest with you. I'm actually sitting on right here, so I'm not in a dangerous spot. Some people are worrying about me. I love your smile, John. Keep smiling always. It's better than if I don't smile. What car? It's true. What car are you planning to buy? Not sure yet. Is car insurance required? It is, unless you rent. Then if you rent a car, then the insurance is provided. which is the best way to get around Tokyo? Bus, cab, taxi? I'd say subway. Subway. Taxis are very convenient. Buses are a little bit complicated. John needs super chats to pay for the tickets. Wayne, you might be right, my friend. I'm pretty sure I'll be okay, but you never know. I might accidentally speed. Who knows? I don't think I will, though. But you never know. When you get out there, it's different out there than the course. Do people in Japan rent cars? Yes, they do. Especially in Tokyo, rent-a-cars are cheap. They're as low as $25 a day, okay? That does not mean the gas and the tolls, so you have to pay for that. But rent-a-car can be as cheap as $25 a day. That's pretty good, right? And we're talking compact cars. But if it costs you that much and you have the freedom to go anywhere, why I didn't get a Japanese license before, I don't know. Do you bike, like motorcycle, or bicycle? I have a bicycle, but I don't motorbike. I don't have a bike. Yeah. Rotten Steam, I hope I ace that test. Thank you so much for the encouragement. But, you know, I could use one more day of practice, but I think I'll be okay. I just have to image everything tonight before I go to bed, like starting the engine. They taught me how to shut down the engine. It's an important thing. They called NHKR, and I can remember because I work with NHK sometimes. NHKR, which means neutral, hand brake, K is key, then R is reverse, and then clutch brake off. So I have to remember the steps in order. That's the thing with Japan. Good luck on the test. I really do appreciate that. I'm taking the test tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. I'm gonna get there at 11 so I can settle in and then walk the course. They said you can walk the course an hour before, and I'll walk the course until I know it backwards, forwards, and I'll be ready. 12:30, I should be done with it, be out of there by 1:30, I figure, and then I'll let you know. I'm gonna do a live stream right away, so you might want to stick around tomorrow if you're going to bed. In the New York time, it's like 12:30 in the morning then. Hey Jim, John from Jim. Hey John, I will be sending super chats. How are you driving tickets? So okay, man. I know, I get it. I'm gonna really take it easy on the roads. Don't worry. I'm gonna go super slow. I'll grandma slow. Didn't you hold a U.S. license? I did. Go back and watch this episode, and you'll understand why I gotta get a Japanese license. I went to a Japanese driving school that allows me to practice the course. It wasn't the exact same course that I'll see tomorrow, but it's a course that practices left turns going over railroad tracks. Every car must stop before they go over a railroad track and open the window and listen for the sound of the train coming. Because Japan has so many tracks, you have to practice that. I thought that was pretty unique. So these are things that you have to practice, and you have to have muscle skills, right? Build up skills and reflexes to do it the right way. Yeah. Is parallel parking important in Japan? Not really. It's not on the test, actually. But parallel parking is, I don't see that much. There's no street side parking in most places in Japan. I haven't seen it that much. You missed the bus. No, I didn't. I'm taking the train. I'm at the station now. Stan W. Any scandals in Japan about buying their licenses? No, I haven't heard of any. They're really, really strict. I mean, they literally dot the I's and cross the T's here in Japan when it comes to licenses. Once again, for everybody who's joining me, I'm getting my Japanese license by doing a Gaimen Kirikae, which is a license transfer. And I've taken 4 hours of practice, which is optional. And I've passed the written test, the eye test, and the 3 months test. You have to have a license for 3 months and have driven in your country where you got the license for 3 months and prove it. That's not a test that everybody passes, believe it or not. What about drunk drivers? What about them? That's bad everywhere. They're extremely strict here in Japan with that. Don't have one drink, don't drive like the whole night. Don't even take a chance with it. Will they let you live stream the test? No. No, I don't even... Look, I'll be thinking about the test. I'm not going to live stream the test. There's a guy... There's nobody following me. Alright, I'm going to cut the live stream. No more hitchhiking. I'll still hitchhike, but you know, maybe I'll be the one picking up the hitchhikers this time. It's only fair, right? The old man is creepy. Are the tests in Japanese? No. You can take them in English. The practical test driving is up to the instructor, who probably only speaks Japanese. So you should know left, right, straight, things like this. All right. Yeah, looks like I've answered all the questions. So hopefully we have a very good and fun exam tomorrow. I'll let you know tomorrow around 1:32 p.m. Japan time if I passed or failed, and give you more information on the test itself. Once again, if you're American and you're not in Maryland and Washington, you're gonna really want to watch this video. All right, everybody. Have a good day. I'm out of here. Musashi-Sakai out.